How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Floyd Mack. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this presentation of the Bell Telephone Hour, which we will try to show you in much the same way as it's broadcast each week on a nationwide network. First of all, I'd like to have you meet the conductor of the Bell Telephone Hour Orchestra, Donald Voorhees. There he is, over there. Oh, Don. The gentleman there, absorbed in the script, is Tom Shirley. Tom is familiar to millions of radio listeners as the voice of the Bell system.
Behind the studio engineer stand the unseen, unheard men, the guardians
Tom, our guest for this performance of the Telephone Hour is the distinguished pianist Josef Hofmann, who is making his appearance at the left of the stage. Last but not least are the members of the orchestra itself. And the control room staff, including Wallace McGill, the director of the program. In just 30 seconds, we'll be going on the air over our usual network. While we're on the air, we'd like to take you behind the scenes to show you what makes a network tick. 15 seconds now. It's the Telephone Hour, presenting Josef Hofmann. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to the Telephone Hour. Our guest soloist this evening, who appears with Donald Voorhees and the Bell Telephone Orchestra, is the distinguished pianist Josef Hofmann. Mr. Hofmann is known to all as one of the great masters of the keyboard, and we'll have ample proof of his mastery when we hear him later on in pieces by Rachmaninoff and Beethoven. Right now, we hear from the orchestra the stirring overture to Gomez's opera Il Guarani.
Behind the studio engineer stand the unseen, unheard men, the guardians of radio's music, news, comedy, and drama. These are the hundreds of transmission specialists for the Bell Telephone System all over the country. Technicians, switchmen, monitor men, and telegraphers, whose job it is to guard the vast radio networks of the country, to link with split-second precision all the separate broadcasting stations into constantly shifting networks of radio communication. Theirs is the skill that guides invisible waves over a labyrinth of wires. They check and balance. They speed the music along 100,000 miles and more of telephone wires, wires that thread their way through the same cables and on the same poles that carry your long-distance telephone calls across the country. Overhead and underground, through the towns, across the prairies, over the mountains, over the streams. These Bell System men are the masters of thousands of miles of telephone lines, a vast and intricate system especially designed for radio. It's equal in actual money value to about 1/2 of all the equipment owned by the broadcasting companies they serve. Television is an exciting idea. It's got a lot of people talking and thinking these days, asking questions, too. Questions like, can television stations be linked together by Bell System telephone lines the way radio stations are connected? Well, that's one question we can answer right now. But first, let's look back to the beginning of cross-country telephoning. In those days, there were a few wires strung on slender poles. But as the demand for cross-country calls grew, more and more wires were added to the poles. In some of the larger cities, this led to overcrowding of poles. Something had to be done. So Bell System engineers began looking for ways to make the wires smaller and to pack them into lead-covered cables. Today, these cross-country cables carry hundreds of wires, sometimes overhead and sometimes buried under the ground. As time went on and people found they could talk farther and hear better, more and more telephone calls were made. Telephone research men then had to find ways to make these wire pathways carry heavier traffic, ways to place more calls on each wire, yet keep the calls separate. This was done with what came to be known as carrier systems. It was first used on open wires, then on the pairs of wires inside the cable. As the need for still more calls developed, a wider electric highway was needed. A new type of line structure was found. It was given the name coaxial. Now, a coaxial is really a copper wire strung through the center of a copper tube. But a single pair of these coaxials will carry hundreds of telephone conversations at once. Put 6 coaxials into a cable, and you have a small, compact unit that'll carry as many telephone calls as these cables used to. Today, telephone engineers know that this broad communications highway called coaxial, developed to handle hundreds of telephone calls simultaneously, can also be used to carry television programs from city to city. Several hundred miles of coaxial cable already form a part of America's long-distance telephone system. Soon, coaxials will stretch across thousands of miles, carrying millions of telephone calls, and ready to form a television network whenever called upon. Well, that's one way to hook up a television network, one we've been trying out for quite some time. And we're trying still another, using microwaves sent out from radio relay stations. Let's see about that. Back in 1920, the first radio telephone service in history was established from Catalina Island to the California mainland. Bell Telephone engineers continued their research into radio for telephone use. This brought to the public such things as overseas telephone service, ship-to-shore calls, and many other applications of radio. Before World War II, we started using very short waves for telephone use between such places as Norfolk and Cape Charles, Boston and Provincetown. During the war, even shorter waves have come into use. Now, we of the Bell system are establishing a multi-link microwave system over a 220-mile route. Here's the way the plan works. Microwaves shoot out like searchlight beams between transmitters set on high places. From New York, the beam is trained on Jackie Jones Mountain. Then it's picked up and relayed station by station to Boston. These microwave radio beams may do about the same job in the air as the coaxials do underground, carry a lot of telephone calls at once, both ways, or carry the sight and sound waves of television. Well, there you have them, two different ways by which television networks may be set up, coaxial cable and radio relay. Television networks may well wind up as a combination of the two, or there may be some other method or combination of methods. Time alone will tell. Meantime, the Bell system is working with the television industry. So when the time comes for transmitting television programs from place to place, we of the Bell system will be ready.
Now Mr. Hofmann joins with Donald Voorhees and the Bell Telephone Orchestra to play the last movement of Beethoven's Concerto No. 5 in E-flat, the so-called Emperor Concerto. How the work got its nickname is not known, although the majestic title seems to fit the last movement, a rondo of noble proportions and splendid vigor. We now hear the final movement of Beethoven's Emperor Concerto. Josef Hofmann. On succeeding weeks at this time, our soloists will be Ezio Pinza, Helen Traubel, Fritz Kreisler, and Robert Casadesus. So until you join us again for Music You Like, with these and other great artists, with Donald Voorhees and the Bell Telephone Orchestra, we remain sincerely yours, the Bell Telephone System.